Now, there was an interesting news story that had come out as of recent, and actually, I have a link discussing the particular news story. Why? Because as much as I want to talk about the news story, I also want to talk about the reactions of the people on the show. Because you're going to have a segment of people who say that these gentlemen on the David Pakman show are being misogynistic, that they're not looking at the harm that this mother truly inflicted upon her child. Now, for those of you not in the know, a mom has been arrested because, basically put, she she hired a couple of strippers for her 16-year-old son's birthday party. Now, some of you are going to be outraged, and understandably on some levels so. There were also kids as young as 14 at this party. I think that the David Pakman show handled this with a kind of maturity that, to be honest with you, it's rare to see in today's society. The moment anybody says the word 16-year-old and stripper, people are ready to, with pitchforks and torches, to go run this person out of town. They believe that this woman should spend a night in jail, that she really has endangered and possibly scarred for life these kids. And no, I'm not just talking about the Gail Dineses or the porn harms out there who will misconstrue this every which way that they possibly can. Unfortunately, sexual development is not on the side of Gail Dines and or that of porn harms. Am I saying it's necessarily in the best taste that the mom did this? Of course not. But am I going to say that she deserves anything more than a ticket and some sort of slap on the wrist? You know, no, I'm not going to support this idea that the punishment in this case fits the crime. I mean, we're talking about somebody who is 2 years away from being considered an adult in today's society. 2 years away from somebody who we consider should legally be able to view naked boobs. Although, let's say he caught his mom in the shower by accident. It happens at times, and Lord knows that's happened to me once or twice, and it's not something I exactly enjoy, but you live with people, you see them naked once in a while. Not that it's a great thing, but I'm not mentally scarred. I'm just not something I tend to like to dwell on that fact because it just. But the point is, the American Psychiatric Association, at least in terms of women, considers that a girl, excuse me, at the age of 14 can give full informed legal adult consent to an abortion at age 14, with caveats that they've seen the adult capacity for adult concepts and abilities to, what is the word I'm looking for here? To also technically give consent as low as 12 years of age. So we're going to say that they couldn't possibly handle this, that this is like exposing a 5-year-old to porn, which obviously is not something that I at all agree with, obviously. But to say that this woman did anything that is mostly wrong is to just give in to the sex negative ideas of this society and say to ourselves that this woman acted in a manner that was absolutely abhorrent to the point to where she deserves jail time. She deserves to be on some sort of registry. Maybe some of you out there would be calling for this woman to have her kids taken away. I know some of you out there and how you react to stories like this, because your first reaction is not to think, it's to let the knee-jerk reaction take over, let your emotions overtake you and overwhelm you to the point to where you're outraged. In a way, you're almost more outraged that I and the David Pakman show are not more outraged about this story than we are. Maybe it's because we realize what it is to be a teenager. Maybe it's because we have science and psychological sexual development of teenagers. Because again, we're keeping our terms straight. I don't want people to mistake this and think that I'm talking about mere children here. I'm talking about teenagers and what kind of capacity they have for something like this to be a non-harmful event. Again, it's in a public place like a bowling alley where apparently the windows for the particular area were blocked off. In which case, isn't the bowling alley somehow culpable for this? I mean, they obviously allowed it to start to happen. I don't think it takes a genius to understand what was probably going on there. But again, I'm not saying that they should be culpable. I'm saying that the only reason why this is a news story, the only reason why this woman is in trouble for the most part is sex negativity. Oh, you can't do that to your child. You're going to destroy their psyche. They're going to need years worth of therapy. No, I think the police busting in, hauling mom off, and maybe even hauling her off to jail and having to put the kids into precarious situations, I honestly will say and think and feel and have a bit of science behind me on this, that is going to be far more damaging than what this woman, somewhat not thinking, did for this kid. And before you start pulling the whole BS misogynistic boys club idea of, oh, you just wish that it had happened when you were 16 years of age. Well, considering the time period I was in, probably not. But no, this isn't about that at all. This isn't about a quote-unquote porn junkie trying to make excuses for his addiction, for his habit here. This is me taking a very, very objective look of saying, at worst, these kids probably saw boobs. Nobody was forcing them to stay there. Any of the kids could have decided, oh, I want no part of this, and walked away. At no point was any of this something that was mandatory. And I think we would have even less of a problem if it was just the 16-year-old and the strippers and the mom at bottom for that. But no, because there were other people involved, some as young as 14, oh, we've got to be up in arms about this because this is just more, this woman is sick in the head, right? She needs to be psychologically evaluated. She should have her kids taken away from her because obviously she's an unfit mother. Unfit by what standards? What evidence do you have besides social morality as being a reason that this is somehow a bad thing? Bad taste, maybe, but a bad thing for the child, prove it. I've got psychology on my side. Links will be down in the underbar about normal human adolescent sexual behavior. It's more on many levels, it's more of our unwillingness to recognize that our kids are sexual beings. And before anybody says, oh, well, if we're going to consider teens sexual beings, then you're just trying to advocate for dirty old men to get with... I'm not. And prove me in saying this. But we have laws that punish teenagers as old as 17 years of age, and sometimes ruins their entire life, making them into a sex offender. And obviously, we know how people treat sex offenders inside and outside of jail, right? For being sexual beings in a safe, consensual setting with another 17-year-old or even a 16-year-old and being in a consensual relationship, we punish them because we're not ready for the reality that they're a sexual being until the age of 18, and even then, we're not ready for it then. I know I don't relish the thought of when my son will eventually become sexually active, but I'm going to try to arm him with enough knowledge so that he does things in a better manner than anything I ever did or anything I was ever taught, because I really wasn't taught much of anything, because we're afraid of our children and sex, even if it is naturally just amongst each other. You know, we don't want to recognize when they are a sexual being, or if they become sexual beings before the age of 18. We want to turn it into something dirty. Somehow these kids must have been touched, or they were shown porn too young, or this or that, or anything and everything that we can make out of this to make our moral bigotry into something that is real. Never mind that it is not. And then we punish our kids for doing what kids will do. But by kids, I mean teenagers, of course. What teenagers will do, especially if we're constantly in their face saying, don't do this, don't do this. Yeah, you say that enough times, they're going to say, well, you haven't told me what it is. You haven't told me the ins and outs of it. You haven't told me probably the smartest way to do this, so I'm going to take matters into my own hands because you can't be around me, Mom and Dad, 24/7. And I'm going to do what I want to do with my body because I am a sexual being at my age 16, at my age 17, and I am going to then engage with somebody. Only now I don't know the best way to do this. Now I don't understand what risks I'm putting me in. And I can become pregnant with STDs and have to deal with that and a baby that's coming. And then I have all these life choices and these life consequences that I didn't know about simply because we're too afraid. We're too scared to talk just basic 101 sexuality with our children. Because if we tell them about it, then they're going to do it. Yeah, because absence-only education, let me tell you, that's just been working so magnificently, hasn't it?